Hello, Americans. I'm Kent McNall. It's Constitution time. Today is Thursday, October 29th, 2020, 5 days ago before our election. I didn't anticipate actually doing the show this evening. I've been under the weather for the last week or so, and that got me to thinking on the topic of coping, because we have a lot going on right now as Americans, a lot. It's really a convergence of so many factors on us right now, making us all feel very tense and alone and separated, divided, because we aren't free to even have the normal capabilities that we have to be surrounded by family and friends. My wife and I are feeling that very much, and it's definitely affecting us, affecting our health. We both had some issues over the last few weeks. And 2020 has been incredibly impactful health year on many people that we know and on ourselves. I remain very convinced I actually had COVID at the beginning of the year. Was never able to prove that. There weren't any tests, and by the time there were, that could have shown that I had it, at least. It was outside the window of time, I was told, that antibodies might appear. So it's definitely been an impactful year. And I'm a firm believer that stress is a major contributor to health issues. And, I don't think I'm very out there with that theory. So it's something that we all have to keep an eye on. And as I'm here talking to you, saying to anyone that listens, that we have more work that we have to do to help our democracy and our Constitution, that probably doesn't relieve stress. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about coping, because we all have to find a good place where we can stand if we're really going to take this on and help get in and help do what needs to be done. So this will wend its way around to the Constitution. But, coping is nothing I feel I'm an expert at. But I do a few things, and I know other people that do a few things that I think are very, very helpful. And I do some things that are not helpful that I seek to change myself. One of the things I feel very fortunate in, and I think helps people cope with stress a lot, is to have a happy place. And very happy to be coming to you here from control room B of Happy Place Home Studio, which is where I spend a lot of my time, and always feel great. Opportunity to think and do things I enjoy doing, and I think having a happy place is a very, very good idea. And I come up with cool little production bits like that in my happy place. I think there's other things you can do as well. Just to try to get off the normal treadmill and fill that time that you would have normally filled with family and friends. Now, not everyone's in the situation that Dan and I are in. We're retired. Many people, have their families, and all their 4 kids are home all the time now. So probably not as much in a position to fill up that empty time. But hobbies obviously help, and maybe a pet. Not one that's high maintenance, maybe a little bit off the beaten path, like a leech or something like that, or some other type of mollusk. Something that can spend a little time on, but isn't going to be too demanding on you, unless the leech gets on you, of course. Yes, okay, I'm being a little bit funny, but I think there are lots of types of pets that can be very interesting and not a huge drain on your time. But it's important, I think, to recognize that we are under a lot of stress, and to try to actively do things to address that, and not be passive about it, because before you know it, it's going to creep up on you and cause you problems in your life, in relationships, with your health, that you don't know, that you don't realize are even happening. And all of a sudden, you come home from swimming with an earache and go through the worst pain of your life for a week. So you don't want that kind of thing to happen. So bringing this back around to, the subject of this show, the need for help for our democracy and our Constitution. One of the things that I've very much noticed, and this has happened to me before if I get involved in a thing, as you get more involved, you start to see, many people have kindly sent me a lot of information, a lot of other folks that feel the way that I've expressed, and I've checked a lot of that out because there's a lot of really talented, smart people out there that are working through this as well. One of the things, though, I've noticed is, boy, there's some really dark information out there. There's some really, really, very, very well thought through, but very convoluted theories on what's really going on and who's really behind it and what the forces are that are arrayed against us, and how worldwide democracies are in a lot of trouble and failing and that kind of thing. And that may well be true. It can't all be true. Some of the things are, presenting conflicting information. But I know that we've got to find very practical ways that we can all get together and help make things happen that can actually happen. And, if at the end of the day, there's galactic alien civilizations, involved trying to, change things for us little humans here on Earth, probably not going to be able to do a lot about that. So we got to really hope and believe that these are things that we can do something about by being on the same team as Americans and by finding ways to bridge our differences enough so that we can work out real solutions. Because, democracy is just a form of government. And there's no law or rule that says it is going to be around in 2,000 years. I mean, if we really think about it, even China, which has the oldest civilization on Earth, or at least one of the oldest, has a form of government that only came about in China within the last 100 years. So, if we care about what we have created in our democracy, we have to realize there's no guarantee that it's going to be around. The only guarantee is we the people. So we have to roll up our sleeves and we have to find practical solutions to our what seem like myriad problems, but what probably boil down to 3 or 4 key core problems that are affecting our democracy. And it certainly seems like there's more now than there have been in the past. I'm sure that's absolutely true. I'm not prepared right now to say, here's exactly what those 3 or 4 or 5 things are, but I will be seeking to present that information, and we'll be continuing to look at the things that people send because, a friend of the show today sent information on, a really good solution. We've got to be willing to examine and make changes to some of the most core things about our democracy. Clearly right now, voting has become one of the issues that we might really need to look at. And there's lots of methods that we can use to implement new voting systems that don't have some of the challenges that our voting system has now, that are more inclusive, that are more secure, and those are the types of solutions we've got to be willing to look at. Even a great system of government, like our democracy, like what was envisioned by our Constitution, is going to, over time, have cracks and seams that can be exploited. Areas that were or weren't anticipated. Our founders did anticipate much of what's going on. A lot of things about what's going on right now. What would happen if a populist became the executive, for example? They saw many threats, and we're just living in a time where many of those threats are happening all at the same time. So, we can't be so arrogant about our system of government that we feel that there's no meaningful changes that should be made or could be made, that it must be preserved exactly as it was, not even as it was envisioned, but as it was written. And if we can get together on that, that is going to help us make useful, practical changes that can help our democracy. Some of them have been talked about for years, of course. Term limits is a great example. Getting special interests and money back out of government. It's not like special interests and money don't have enough going on for them as it is, but we're becoming a corpocracy, not a democracy. And so those are the types of things that I hope to be able to talk about and channel good, workable solutions that are out there to the folks that are listening, and to myself, so that we have something that we can really roll up our sleeves and get to work on. Yeah, I'm sure that you noticed, as I noticed, that neither of the two candidates that are currently running for president presented any great, we're landing on the moon in 10 years type vision. And it's been a while since anyone did that, since we had a great purpose that we all are working towards. And there are many great purposes that we should be working towards that don't have anything to do with Mars or, space or whatever. But that's what happens when we start to see what used to be very mundane things as great accomplishments. I've used the example again and again of getting a budget passed, or, that all of a sudden that's our great accomplishment. That's all we can do is, get the emergency funding for the budget once a quarter. And very little else is even talked about. Well, I think that's a reflection of the deadlock that has arisen from the seams that are being exploited in our system. The deadlock is not only, I'm not even sure it's seen as a problem. It's just business as usual in Washington, D.C. And we've got to get out of that mode. We really do, because we have so much we need to do, so much we need to accomplish. And everyone knows that. And everyone knows we're not doing it. So, we've got to roll up our sleeves. We've got to reprioritize what's really, truly important to us as Americans. And there's a great, great gulf between one extreme and the other politically in our country. We can't focus on trying to solve that problem. We're never going to bring those two extremes together. But the vast majority of us that are closer to the center can get together and can solve those problems. And, in no case can you be exclusive and say, well, you're too extreme, we won't even listen to you. But you can't let that drive the agenda of the country. And too much, of course, it is doing so right now. So to bring this back to coping, if you, like me, get engaged in this and start to see some of that very convoluted, dark information out there that makes you feel like we can never do anything about this, take a step back from that and focus on things that we absolutely can do. The most obvious one right now is voting, which I'm so proud of Americans for getting out in the numbers they're getting out. And, it's full steam ahead. That is absolutely, I think, the most immediate solution. And damn the torpedoes, whatever anyone tries to do to keep thousands of ballots from being counted, that becomes less important if millions and millions and millions of votes are cast. Okay, so let's keep this something manageable, something that can be solved. We don't want to turn this into insolvable problems in our mind. They can't be all solved at once, but they can be solved if we work together. All right, thank you so much. I will be not Transmitting tomorrow, I will on Monday, the day before the election, a little bit later than the normal 5 o'clock time. So get your energy ready for what will probably be a very important, possibly difficult week next week. But we will get through it as we always do, Americans. And be well, be safe, take care of yourself. And thank you for joining us today.